Hello again, Struckweb. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Torchlight 3, and this one is for the Sharpshooter class with the Blood Drinker subclass. It's Drainshooter Strikes 2.0, a rework of an old build. It has been requested by others to update it, so here it is, the updated Drainshooter Strikes using Drain, using targeted strikes. And this time around I'm also using the Arctic Armament set that gives me reduced cooldown for item granted skills such as Imbue Relic, which I'm using, which is granted by the by the Ancient Ember Boots. So using the Ancient Ember Boots alongside the Ancient Ember Pants and the Ancient Ember Shoulders, we get a nice synergy which allows me to do something like this, using Dance of Death, then using Imbue Relic to recharge it, and then using another Dance of Death, and at the same time I can use Drain, and with Drain I have chance to regain some of the energy back. 25 energy every time I use Drain, with a 20% chance with the set bonus from the Ancient Ember legs. Using Dance of Death also gives us shrine effects with 100% chance because we have 3 pieces of the set. So this is an interesting synergy, and you can see how cool it looks having 8 blades spinning around you instead of 4. It's not that great in regards to damage with those spinning blades, and keep in mind it's a Blood Drinker build. Do not expect it to be as strong for the DPS compared to Electrode or Flaming Destroyer. And it's a little bit weaker in terms of DPS compared to my build from yesterday, the Seeker's Arrow, the one that was using Explosive Arrow and Blood Seekers, but it's still a decent setup, and I still like it. They're very similar, but there's like 20 skill point difference and 2 items difference in the builds, and that provides some sort of a different playstyle due to the synergies we get. Here we are at the skills segment, where I'm going to talk about the skills I've taken for this build, why I take them, and at what level. For those of you who want to just see the skills, I'm gonna quickly go through all the skill tree windows so you can see them, get them, maybe pause and see them, and then I would start talking about them. Keep in mind I also make website versions of those builds, so you can check those things over there. Only the pet skills don't go on the website version, because those are pretty much not that significant for a build. Okay, so on struckweb.xyz is the website version, and now let's talk about why I take the skills at the levels you see. Revolt level 10 plus 2. I could just as easily go 8 plus 2, but then I'm not gonna have as much cooldown reduction for Revolt. That's why I keep it at 10 plus 2. This one, targeted strikes 10 plus 2. It could be tight grouping, targeted strikes, onslaught, explosive arrow, or scatter shot in. So either of those 5 is fine. Pick the one you like, level it to 10, get that extra 2 bonus levels from the Musketeer set, which is from the rope, helmet, and 1 more item. It could be shoulder, it could be gauntlets like me, it could be something else. For this build you have to use the Musketeer gauntlets, but more about that in the next segment. So pick one, stick to it, level it to level 10, and then onslaught I keep it 4 plus 2 for the tier 2 bonus, extra damage relic skills to those 2 skills. Unfortunately, this extra damage relic skills right now doesn't seem to work on procs like Rupture and the procs of other relics, so I hope they fix it and make it so, unless this is intentional, but I think it would give the passive a little bit more weight, so hopefully they change that. Now on the adventure side of things, we are keeping Loyal Shasta as 4 plus 2 for tier 2 for the 50% damage to taunted enemies. She taunts and she does extra damage, and we do extra damage, and our minions other than Shasta, if we have any, which we don't in this build, would also do extra damage to Taunted. Sacrifice to Goose for the cooldown reduction and for the vulnerability tier 1 and tier 2, so 4 plus 2. This Sharpshooter skill cooldowns most likely will get the same treatment the Dusk Mage got and would change from quad skill cooldowns to cooldown reduction, which would mean it would give 10% for this, which means 2 seconds. It would mean 10% for this, which means another 6 seconds shaved off of the 60-second default cooldown, minus 30 seconds because of the Frostwall and the set bonus. So this one tier 1 1+2, this one tier 3 8+2. I don't think it's worth putting 2 extra points for 10+2 here. This is not a great source of damage. What is a great source of damage are the procs from the Infectious shooter, and I think those are more important. So yeah, I wouldn't put extra 2 points here to overcap it. Now, Dance of Death, 10 points is optional. I think with this build it works fine because we are using Ancient Ember shoulders and we're using Ancient Ember boots with the set bonus, so we can do double Dance of Death, which means double the shrine effects, and that's why I think double the blades is not bad. But alternatively, you can keep it at tier 2 or tier 1 if you feel you don't need it to be as strong, or if you don't have those items yet. Drain is the damaging skill. My previous build from yesterday was 10 points Blood Seekers. Now we are doing a Drain version. If you don't like Drain, you can do the same with Spinning Blade, but that means you're not gonna benefit from those legs, and you might as well unequip those legs, maybe even those shoulders. You might wanna, if you're using Drain, Spinning Blade, I mean, if you're using Spinning Blade, you might wanna consider putting the gauntlets of this set, the Ancient Ember gauntlets here, and removing the pants and maybe putting Musketeer pants, and that could be fine, although the gauntlets don't seem to work right now. Maybe they're still broken. Last I checked was like a week ago though, so maybe it's fixed. 5 points into Rupture is pretty good for the damage, especially when you consider Scout's Bones with the Infectious shooter. You can trigger a lot of Ruptures with those projectiles. Each one of those projectiles, if they hit a bleeding enemy, can trigger a Rupture, and then the Rupture does damage in an AoE, and it's amazing. If you don't have chance to bleed on your items, like on my shield from a socket, then put Bloodletter, remove those 4 points, put them into Bloodletter. In fact, you might want to remove 4 points here and 1 point here, and keep that at 4 and keep that at 5, so you have more bleed chance, but you really must have chance to bleed to trigger this, otherwise it's pointless. I put 4 points into Energizer so we can generate energy quicker. Alternatively, you might want to remove those 10% bonus damage and put points into tight grouping, or you might want to play instead of with targeted strikes with tight grouping and get that bonus, or you could play with onslaught and put 4 points into tight grouping. So taking those 10 points, putting 6 here, 4 here, that's another choice, so you can get extra relic energy charge. There's a lot of options, but those are some of them as possibilities. And that pretty much covers the skills. Let's talk about the Legendarium. I'm using Woods Beast Sandals, Infectious Shooter and My Lil General. In my opinion, this is the perfect way to set up this build. This gives you crit chance, it gives you stun and knockback immunity, and it gives you attack speed, which we don't use because attack speed is only for basic attacks and we don't use those. Infectious Shooter, I already showed you how good it is. And then My Lil General, this one is flexible. If you decide to wear My Lil General, for example something like this, if it had a socket and gave me chance to bleed and I didn't need the defense from the Frostwall, I could equip the Lil General, get some armor again, which is pretty good for this setup, and then put the Frostwall heal. So here, Lil General equipped means Frostwall in the Legendarium, Lil General in the Legendarium means Frostwall equipped. Wear one, swat the other. More about that in the gear segment. There's other options such as more Winterweave pieces like Winterweave gauntlets, Winterweave cuirass, the chest, things like arc powered shoulders are not so bad. There are other things you could use, other things from the skittering set, from the Winter Weave set, from the Ancient Ember powered set, etc. But I think this is my preferred perfect combo. Next will be the pet skills. Aura Deadlier Strikes is what I like using. This combined with the Woods Beast Sandals in my Legendarium caps my crit chance. That means I don't need crit chance from legs or chest arm or helmet armor, which is pretty decent. I like the healing skill, I like the damage buff, and I like zoomies because it makes my pet attack quicker. And attacking quicker means triggering Drought Neckband more often and triggering Token of Invigoration more often. Some things like this and this don't seem to work in this yet, but maybe they're gonna get fixed, and I can't tell whether this works or not. But they're new, they're still figuring out some things to make them work properly. This assemble does work though. Some people are saying that some of the skills don't work with every type of pet, but work with certain others, like the Winter Owl. But that's just a bug and it's gonna get fixed, so this one would be pretty fun to use when it works. And enough of the gear, enough of the skills, let's talk about the gear. And here we are at the gear segment where I'm going to talk about the items I've taken, why I've taken those items, and what affixes you would want into those items. First I'm gonna start with the weapon and offhand. As I mentioned in the previous segment, I'm using Frostwall and the North Mace, but it doesn't have to be Frostwall and North Mace as long as you have this set. So you could wear Frostwall and Glacier Sage instead of the North Mace. This is what North Mace looks like, this is what Frostwall looks like. Mine are remodeled, so keep that in mind. As long as you wear the shield with one of those two, or the focus item, the Lil General, with one of those two, you're fine. If you wear the Lil General, put the Frostwall in the Legendarium, otherwise it's the other way around. The Legendarium goes into the Lil General goes into the Legendarium. So for the weapon, the affixes you would want are obviously at the top. You will always have flat damage. And I think those always roll with ice because how they are made, because they're legendary Arctic Armament set items. So at the bottom, where I have on my mace basic attack damage, shock bolts and slug shot levels, you want 3 times this thing, flat damage. It could be fire, it could be ice, it could be electric, it could be physical, poison, any is fine, it doesn't matter. Obviously if it's ice it's best, because then you can stack some % bonus ice damage and get the most out of it. But yeah, this is probably never gonna happen. If you get a North Mace or a Glacier Sage with 3 flat damages in the middle and a socket, you've hit jackpot. You've gotten the God Roll weapon, the one and only. And good luck to anyone else trying to get that. So if you want to be more realistic, you're probably gonna have 1 or 2 flat damage affixes, and then let's say you have 2 flat damages in a socket, and then you have another one that's either crit chance or crit damage, or skill levels to targeted strikes, explosive arrow, or whatever other skill you're using, or skill levels to drain. That would be fine, that would be acceptable. Even 2 flat damages and chance to bleed is not bad. But ideally the chance to bleed would be from a socket, from the shield, or from the focus. On the shield, ideally you would have over 10k defense at the top with close to 15% chance to block. Then in the middle you would have some more defenses or block chance, and then the socket for chance to bleed, which you get with the elemental, this one, elemental bonus. This here can give you chance to bleed, and you want this chance to bleed for X base damage instead of the just X% to bleed chance affixes. This is the better one, the one I've got. If you wear the Lil General, obviously you would want some flat damage on it, and maybe some crit chance, maybe some crit damage, maybe some chance to bleed. Armor again is definitely nice, and the socket obviously for chance to bleed on it. Now let's talk about the musketeer pieces. I think the best way to play this build right now, the way I've set it up, is Musketeer Hat -45, obviously you would want a level 60, Musketeer Rope and Musketeer Gloves. That for me seems the best way to do it. Then you want Ancient Ember Boots, Pants and Shoulders. Which means you're swatting in the Legendarium the Woods Beast Sandals. Because, I mean, they're optional, but I think they really fit well into most builds. So, in this setup, unlike the previous one from yesterday, the option to wear the sandals doesn't work because you're gonna lose the bonus, you're gonna lose this extra Dance of Death recharge and this extra 10% chance to trigger, and then this extra 50% chance to get shrine effects. I mean, obviously if you don't have the Ancient Ember Boots, you would wear the sandals before you get them. But in the end you want those 3 pieces and you want those 3 pieces. Now let's talk about affixes on the items. The best affix you can give yourself is damage with, for example, targeted strikes, explosive arrow, onslaught, tight grouping, scatter shot, the skill you use. So in my case I would want damage with targeted strikes. I'm gonna try and show you, I think I had it somewhere over here, just to see what it looks like. Damage with targeted strikes. It's probably here. Okay, I can't find it. Come on, come on. Damage with targeted strikes. See this one, damage with targeted strikes. You want this one. And this one can roll on the chest, on the shoulder and on the legs. This is priority number 1 DPS boost for you. Damage with targeted strikes. Priority number 2 on the Musketeer Rope is flat damage. This type of flat damage, like this ice, fire, etc. flat damage. Priority number 3 on the chest is crit damage. Priority number 4 on the chest is elemental bonus damage. Ideally ice, because those always roll with ice. And the rest is just defenses. Obviously you want a socket so you can put more defense on all of those pieces. On the legs, priority number 1, as I mentioned, targeted strikes, damage or whatever else if you're using a different skill. Priority number 2, crit chance I think is good if you're not using the Woods Beast Sandals or the Pet Aura. If you have crit chance here and then you think, okay, I don't need the Pet Aura, you can just use a movement speed or defense Pet Aura. Then another good thing, it used to roll flat damage before, I think they removed it. We used to be able to get flat damage here and here, I think only here we can get flat damage. Now, another good thing that you can get here is percent damage, such as percent ice, percent fire, etc. But make sure if you're stacking percent ice or whatever other element, you're stacking the element that's the highest. In my case this is ice. You can see the boots here give me 8.3%, and it means from 6.4 to 6.7k ice damage with that. And then you can stack this here, here and here if that's your highest and they're matching. Here priority number 1, as I mentioned, damage to the skill. Priority number 2 is crit damage, and priority number 3 would be some other things, block chance, etc. defenses. Here priority number 1, if you need the crit chance, would be crit chance. Otherwise I would say skill levels to targeted strikes or the skill you use. It could be explosive arrow, onslaught, etc. That's gonna give you great DPS. For example, explosive arrow gets 26% weapon damage increase per level after level 10. So 3 levels would mean, what's that, 78% damage. If you had 3 levels to explosive arrow, that's 78% weapon damage, which is not equal to 78% damage to explosive arrow, but 78% weapon damage is definitely great as an addition. I don't know the exact numbers for targeted strikes, but yeah, it's definitely great getting that. Another good thing here is gear work, but this caps at 100, and if you're doing a map with 50, you're on ridiculous, that gives you 20, and your tree of work is 25, that's 75 out of nowhere without even considering items. So keep that in mind. On the gauntlets, and helmet, good things you can get are minus relic energy cost, relic energy generation plus. Those are amazing. Look for them here, look for them here. On the boots, priority number 1 is crit damage, number 2 % ice damage, number 3 ice or whatever damage you're stacking, number 3 would be bleed duration, and then obviously defenses, stuff like that are not bad. And I think this pretty much covers the human gear. Let's talk about the pet gear. Drought neckband, token of invigoration, token of rapid bartering is my preferred choice. And I like to stack pet attack speed and the cooldown reduction. The cooldown reduction to this one, faster cooldown for pet active skills. So ideally you would have faster cooldown for pet active skills alongside attack speed in the middle on all 3 items. In the socket here put whatever you like, in the socket here and here put faster cooldown for pet active skills. This means the faster the pet attacks, it stacks with zoomies, the faster it will be reducing the cooldown and healing us, and the cooldowns of anything such as this and this will be getting reduced. And it synergizes very well with the Drought neckband and token of invigoration, the on-hit effect. And that pretty much seems to be it. So next I'm gonna show you more footage of the build in action in the gameplay segment. And here we are at the gameplay segment where I'm gonna talk about rotating the skills of the build and show you more of the build in action. I normally like to start when I have Dance of Death ready, so I can do Dance of Death, Imbue Relic, Dance of Death. But obviously, like in most Sharpshooter builds, you want to start with Shasta and then follow up with Goose. Then next what I would do, if Dance of Death is ready, use Dance of Death. If it isn't, use Imbue Relic, then use Dance of Death. And then start with the rotation of the rat balls, which is Scout's Bones, Reload, Scout's Bones, Reload, Scout's Bones. And then I would start using targeted strikes, and while using targeted strikes you can use Drain without interrupting. Drain is that type of a skill that you can use while channeling other skills, such as spinning with the robot, with the spin to win cyclone mode, or channeling things like Holy Fury, whatever, any other skill that can be channeled. And most attacks in this game, most skills in this game are channeled. As you hold the button, it keeps repeating the skill, and that's the beauty of it. So if I would to repeat the rotation, it's Shasta, Goose, Dance of Death, Imbue Relic, Dance of Death, then Scout's Bones Reload, Scout's Bones Reload, Scout's Bones, and start spamming targeted strikes while spamming Drain at the same time. If you want, you can try and squeeze in some drains in between the other skills. As I said, it's not gonna interrupt them. But yeah, hopefully you have as much fun playing this build as I do and having that rotation. It might be a little bit too much to handle as a rotation, but it's definitely a fun setup. To get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters and all sorts of wooters like that, you could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally, you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.